Today's our fourth annual Mayor's Roundtable, and as I told the mayors earlier this morning, city work is the most important work of all of our governments, is what I believe, because it actually affects our day-to-day life. And as many of us know, most of the people who participate in city government and county government have jobs outside of those positions that are elected or volunteer. So we really appreciate the time and the commitment that all of our leaders put into their work for our cities. We have 17 municipalities throughout the county of Polk, and today we have 13 of our mayors from those 17 municipalities, and we have the county commission chair. Dancer has joined us today too, as many of the residents of Polk County do not live in municipalities. They live outside of city limits throughout the county. So thank you so much again for being here. I'd like to welcome Bonnie Parker to come up and join me from Citizens Bank. Oh, there she is. We want to thank all of our sponsors. Polk State College is always so gracious in helping us at Polk Vision, especially with this event, and Citizens Bank and Trust as well. The Ledger has sponsored our event as well this year, and Duke Energy. Jerry Miller's here from Duke, and we appreciate him. And the Polk County Board of County Commission is a great sponsor of Polk Vision. We appreciate all that they do, and PGTV is actually recording today, so you will see this event in perpetuity on PGTV. So if you're up late at night and you want to see what's going on in your city, maybe you should check out PGTV and what your mayor's saying about you. With that being said, I'd like to welcome Bonnie Parker.
Thanks so much. Thanks. President Greg Littleton could not be here today. He has another engagement in South Florida, so he asked me to come just say a few words to you. And I thought how wonderful it is that I work for a bank whose sole purpose is Polk County. You know, Citizens Bank and Trust was founded in 1920 in Frostproof. And now I'm proud to say our corporate headquarters is in Lake Wells, my hometown. And we have branches in most communities in Polk County. And we just want to thank the mayors and other people in our community who've come just to have a roundtable to share ideas, hopefully come to some consensus on some items. And we definitely feel that what's good for Frostproof is good for Lake Wells, is good for Winter Haven, is good for Lakeland, and so on and so on. And the more we work together, engage with each other, and feel more connected to each other, Polk County is going to be stronger as a whole. So I thank each and every one of you for being here, and let's have the talks begin, I guess, right?
Thanks, Bonnie. We appreciate Citizens so much. If you are a Polk Vision board member, could you stand? And we would like to thank you very quickly for coming today and leading our organization. Thank you all very much. And our government task force actually is the group that hosts this event. So if you're on our government task force, if you could stand quickly, we would like to appreciate you as well. Thank you so much. And with that being said, there are a couple ground rules. Make sure your blue light is on when you speak into the microphone. PGTV has asked that from your city council meetings. I think you all know how to turn the switch on and off. So if your blue light's on, then we can hear you. And without further ado, I'd really like to thank Colleen Burton. She is here as our facilitator this morning, and we truly appreciate Colleen. She's the former executive director of Polk Vision. She helped start this roundtable several years ago, and thank you so much for being here, Colleen. She'll lay the ground rules for you all and explain how the morning's going to go. We will have index cards at the back table at the break, so if you have questions, there are index tables at the back table that we can hand out, and you can turn them back into the back table where Martha Rowe is and Taylor Benson. So if you have any questions, please turn them in back there, and we'll get them to the facilitator when appropriate. Thanks so much, Colleen. I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. And good morning, everybody. I would like to echo Sarah's thanks to each and every one of you for joining us this morning. As Sarah mentioned, this is the fourth year, so I'm very proud to know that when I was fortunate to still be executive director of Polk Vision, this was something that the government task force started. It's really nice when you leave an organization and you get to come back and see how great things still are. I mean, we've all done that before. You know, you leave a place and you come back and you hope that it's still flourishing and actually even getting better. And wow, this is a great turnout this morning. We value your time. I value your time. So let's get to work. I had the opportunity to speak with all of you before this morning, just so our audience knows. We're not all strangers up here at the table. We've met. We've had a chance to say hello to each other this morning. And the reason I spoke to each of the mayors prior to this morning's session was so that we could begin to develop some themes. And there won't be any big surprises, I don't think, except that we will have a unique opportunity to listen into what I've told them is a private conversation, an intimate conversation between leadership, between our mayors and the chair of our county commission about important issues here in Polk County. Now, when our mayors get together, they're oftentimes at big meetings with other mayors and other cities from around the region or the state, and I figure most of the time they're alphabetically by city, they get arranged at tables, or by last name. So in order to mix it up a little bit this morning, we have arranged our mayors alphabetically by their first names. It caused a little confusion, but we're good now. We think everybody's where they need to be. And what I'm going to ask all the mayors to do, and certainly Commissioner Dantzler, is we're going to go around the table. We're going to, in alphabetical order. So Mayor Dickinson has been warned that she's first. And I'd like each of the mayors just to take a couple minutes to introduce themselves. I've asked them to let us know how long they have served in elected office, because I think it's important for all of us to realize the wealth of talent and commitment that we have sitting around the table this morning. I think you'll hear some big numbers coming around. And if somebody has a little calculator, can add them up as we go along, I'd appreciate that too, so that we can announce at the end how many years we've got. I also asked them just in a couple of words to remind me, but certainly tell you, the audience, a hot topic, something that they think is going to be a big part of the conversation amongst the many issues that they deal with in the upcoming year in each of their municipalities. I think you're going to hear some commonalities, and then we're going to launch into, I'm sure, a lively discussion. And so let's get started. Mayor Dickinson, I'll let you go first.
Fine, thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Ann Dickinson. I was born and raised in Frostproof. I've lived there almost all my life. I am in the citrus and cattle business. When I came on the council, I was the only one who ran my own business. Everybody else worked for the other fella. And I felt like that was a good reason for me to run for office. I graduated from FSU with a degree in education and a minor in library science. I started my career as a school teacher, taught for about 7 years. Came back to Frostproof when my husband graduated from the University of Florida, which makes us a divided household. It's lively on the Thanksgiving weekend. But I started off, as I said, in education. And my second career was in agriculture. As I said, we're in the citrus and cattle business. My family's been in Frostproof since the 1920s. And I thought that I would, and I knew that I would inherit our citrus groves. And I decided that I needed to know something about it, and I went back to school and took courses to learn about the citrus industry and how to run one, and went into the family business. In agriculture, I have been recognized as Florida's Agricultural Woman of the Year, which is, I was the 10th woman to be chosen, second one from Polk County. I was in Farm Bureau and did a lot of work with Farm Bureau for many years. And through that connection, I was appointed by 2 different governors to be on the board of the, shoot, I can't even think now what it was. That's great. But anyway, workman's comp, yes.
How many years ago did you first run for office in Frostproof?
In 7 years.
Okay.
I'm starting my 7th year now. And I ran this year and no opposition. So that was a lucky deal for me.
Congratulations.
But that was, as I said, my interest in government was to represent the employers. And I'll stop now because I want.
How about the second question? What do you think is a big issue in Frostproof in the upcoming year?
Our big issue is going to be water, and we have a prospect of drilling a deep well in Frostproof from Swift Mud wants to come in, and they're looking at, I think, 2 other areas too. And we're going to have to make a decision on that issue.
Great, thank you very much. Well, Mayor Bradley?
Good morning. Mayor of Davenport for 1 year and 2 months. However, I've been a dedicated cheerleader volunteer for the city of Davenport for many, many years, involved in a lot of activities. I will say that running for office is the most humbling experience I've ever had. Going door to door, meeting with people who are trying to decide, am I going to be able to pay my water bill or buy food or medicine this month? So I can relate to these people. So I ran for the people of Davenport, and I'm still running for the people of Davenport. The biggest thing that we're about to encounter in the city of Davenport, even though we're a population of only 3,000, we've got some major development going on. We got a developer who's about to build 700 homes. So and that's just the beginning in one subdivision. So how do you keep this small town atmosphere, which I cherish, and so do all the other people, with this growth? How do you deal with the increase in traffic, the increase in children, the increase in everything that's going through our city, and still be able to keep that atmosphere? One of the things that we're dealing with right now is we have children that literally come to our meetings and beg, literally beg, have you got a place where we can meet? Have you got a place where we can play? Okay, my heart is broken for these kids. So I'm reaching out to everyone, including the county, to try and get some help for our ballparks and be able to build a pavilion is my dream someday for these Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts where they can meet. I believe in investing in our children today so that we're not investing in them later in life. You know, let's start with the ground and work our way up. So,
Great.
and I would like to also thank you for doing this. Last year, being just mayor, I met with a lot of mayors for the first time, and I have been leaning on them for advice. There's a lot you have to learn and pick up very quickly. And so I appreciate this very much.
Great,
Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Fultz?
Good morning. My name is Eugene Fultz. I'm the mayor of the city of Lake Wales, and I mirror Mayor Bradley as far as the time in office is concerned. I've been there for approximately 14 months, and my term is 2 years. So I've got 10 months left, and I do plan to run again because I'm the first at-large elected mayor that Lake Wales has ever had. And I take that as an honor to be the first one to step out and do that. My first time in the political arena, first time on the commission. And I feel that Lake Wales has an opportunity now to grow exponentially, more so than it has in the past because the right people are in place to make it happen. Some of the things that we're looking at there in Lake Wales, economic development, number one. We just got a new executive chamber director and doubles as the economic development director, Kevin Keith, and he is a very qualified person and someone who is raring to go, as he has just stepped into that position June 2nd. And we're looking at other issues there in Lake Wales because, like I said, we're poised to grow. So we're looking at the transportation issue there as well. Because with Polk County being such a spread out county, we need some transportation that's going to be reliable for all of our citizens to get to back and forth to their different appointments, to their different places of employment. And I think that this is something that, that we're going to excel in as well. And I know that there's a 1-cent sales tax referendum coming up in November, and I have been encouraging everyone to vote for that. Because if we want to see progress, if we want to see our county grow, we're going to have to put some skin in the game. And I think it's time for us to begin to do that. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Mayor. Mayor Wiggs?
Thank you. I grew up in Mulberry. I moved to Lakeland early 80s to manage a bank. Been in the banking industry for a long time. Graduate of Florida Southern College. This is my 22nd year in public office, 21 as a commissioner, and now my first year as a mayor. And as we've heard in the paper, seen the paper, we have some issues in Lakeland. Yesterday's shooting was not gang-related, as far as we can tell. We're going to have some revenue challenges this year. My deputy city manager's over there, and he grins when we talk about that, but we'll come up with some solutions. I think the biggest thing that's going to be an issue for the city of Lakeland over the next a year or two will be downtown redevelopment. We have some really exciting projects coming around downtown redevelopment, and I think those are the kinds of things that all of the mayors can relate to, that you need more retail in your downtown, you need redevelopment. So I think that will be our focus, heavy focus over the next year or so.
Great. Thank you very much. Mayor LaCascia?
I'm Joe LaCascia, Mayor of Polk City. A little bit of my background. I've been in public service for over 36 years in various elected positions in New York and Massachusetts, on Zoning Board of Appeals, rewriting land zone regulations. Came to Florida only 5 years ago, and I've been mayor for 4 of those 5 years. A little bit about why we came to Florida. In my family, I make all of the big decisions on immigration, on economic issues, worldwide economic issues. And my wife makes all of the small decisions, like where we live, and when we live, and where, and of course, and when and where I work. What happened was my daughter and her husband had a few children. We fondly refer to them as grandchildren. And when they moved to Florida about 5 years ago, they took the grandchildren with them, which was a great surprise. And for a period of time, my wife was very unhappy, and everybody knows if mama's not happy,
Nobody's happy.
nobody's happy. Consequently, we decided to come to Polk City. New York City to Polk City, a bit of a transition there. I spent 42 years in downtown Manhattan. I owned a worldwide ocean marine insurance brokerage house downtown Manhattan in the shadows of the old World Trade Center when it stood there. Sold the business and again came to Florida. When I came to Polk City, I thought that I should somehow be involved in public service when I got my first water bill. When you live in New York, you don't have any water issues. Our water is supplied by a number of different things, mostly snow melt from up in snow country. So we have reservoirs that are plentiful and supply great quality drinking water to the city and Long Island. So you never think about water issues. When I came here, I got my first water bill, and I was astounded as to the cost of the water bill and said, I should look into this. I got on the Planning Commission. There was an opening on with the then council, which we're now commissioners, on the commission, and I was appointed to a commission seat 4 years ago, and from that time, and I was appointed mayor for 3 of the years and elected this year is my 4th year as mayor. Polk City is a great place, just like all of our cities. We have the same issues. Transit is definitely one of them in a rural community like ours. Consequently, we'll be working on that as well. And that's about it. Been here a couple of years and very happy doing what I'm doing.
Thank you.
Keith.
Thank you, sir. Keith Cowing, City of Auburndale, mayor this year. I've been on the city council now for 7 years, and this is my 2nd term serving as the mayor. My wife, Tabitha, has lived in Auburndale her entire life, and I've lived in Auburndale since I was 10 years old, so 30 years this year. We have 2 children, two girls that we're excited to be able to raise in Auburndale like we were. One of the big opportunities in Auburndale that we feel this year, and we look at as a a good opportunity is the new Polytech University that'll be open. I know we'll speak about today. Although it's in Lakeland, it butts up and borders the city of Auburndale. So we're excited about that new venture that's coming to our area. And I would also echo Mayor Folt's comments on the transportation initiative that we'll be looking at in the fall as something that's not only very important for Auburndale, but extremely important for our county as we move forward.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor Wagner?
I'm Marlene Wagner, Mayor of the town of Lake Hamilton. My husband and I moved here from Pittsburgh 15 years ago, and I decided that if I was going to live here, I needed to know what was going on, so I started attending the council meetings every month. I went for 4 years. I don't think I missed a meeting in 4 years of sitting there. Then I decided that I would run for mayor. I'm on my 9th year of mayor of Lake Hamilton.
So how many total years is that? Is that 4 plus 9? Or is
Well,
it just the 9? No, I'm adding here. So
Yeah,
I
I was just attending the meetings.
Oh,
I
you were
wasn't-
9, thank you.
Okay.
Got it.
I've been mayor for 9 years,
Gotcha.
going on 9
Wow.
years. We have the same issues as most of these people have said. We need transportation desperately. We're kind of out of the way. Water is a big problem with all of our cities. We are putting in our problems in the old water lines. We're slowly but surely replacing the lines as we're going through areas of towns. We're trying to get sewer up 27 so we can have some economic development on Highway 27 that would help our town. And that's just about all.
Great, thank you so much. Mayor Daley?
I'm Nancy Daly, and I'm the mayor of City Lake Alfred. Also grew up right outside New York City. Came to Florida in 1978 to become a water skier at Cypress Gardens.
Okay.
Skied for 25 years. And was elected the first time to Lake Alfred in 2001. So I've been involved since for about 13 years. It's about my 5th term as mayor, because we serve 1-year terms as mayor. In Lake Alfred, the biggest challenge we have right now is also economic development and downtown revitalization. We've gone through a lot of steps to try to make the right place for people to come and grow their businesses. And so hopefully between that and the transportation issue, we can do a lot better and help our city grow.
Great, thank you so much. Mayor Birdsong?
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Nathaniel Birdsong, Jr. I was born and raised in Winter Haven. I'm a graduate of Florida A&M University and with a BS degree in mathematics. And I also have an MBA from Nova Southeastern University. I was elected in 2002, and so this year will be my 12th year. And I have served, this is my 3rd time serving as mayor of the city of Winter Haven. I guess one of the greatest issues that's facing Winter Haven, short term, is that from a budgeting standpoint, the ad valorem rate in our tax base is about a little over half of what it was, say, 6 years ago. In the roughly 12 years that I've been on the commission, we have not raised taxes 1 year. And to just give you the effects of that, our overall budget, say, 3 years ago, was approximately $160 million. We're down, our budget for this coming year will be somewhere in the range of $80 million. So, you know, we have not reduced services, we have not raised taxes, and that's an issue that's going to face us this coming year. And I guess long-term, as all of us, there are a couple of long-term issues that we all are going to face, that we all will be facing, not only as individual municipalities, but also as a county. And that has to do with the water issues. Long-term, that is an issue for all of us. And at some point, we're working. I know there are things that are being worked on. And for all of us, we all look towards better economic development and the growth of our downtown areas.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor Huff.
My name is Pat Huff. I'm the mayor of City Bartow. Actually, this is my 15th year of service and my third time as mayor. And I did participate in this council, I guess the first one, in a prior term as mayor. I've only been a mayor for a month and a half this time. I was actually born in Holopau. Then that sawmill shut down. We moved to Lake Garfield. That sawmill shut down. Those two towns are no longer there. And we moved to Bartow. And I was raised in Bartow, graduated from Summerlin Institute, went off to the University of Florida, and didn't come back to Bartow until in the 60s. Moved back again, stayed there for about 10 years, was able to raise my 3 daughters and have them all graduate from Bartow High School, as it was at that time, and left again. Then I came back in the early 90s to stay. So I'm back in Bartow, and my first time back in Bartow, I was served on the Planning and Zoning Board for a number of years, and so I had the city at my heart, and I always loved Bartow and loved the small town atmosphere, and actually credit that with a lot of my raising. So I decided to run for the city commission, and so that started my 15-year term there. City Bartow has normal problems that all the municipalities have, and water certainly being one of them. And I appreciate the county and taking the leadership in that, and they do have projects going. Of course, we're going to have to fund those, but hopefully that will give us some answers in the near term. The city itself is facing problems with economic development, downtown growth, and so forth, which we all are facing. We need to do whatever we can, and would like to learn from any other municipalities as to what you're doing, and see what we can do to copy that. We have an immediate problem, which is not too big. That's chickens. We had some complaints from some neighbors that the chickens, the roosters were crowing at 3 in the morning, and the chickens were kind of smelly and so forth. And that started a whirlwind of activity, and people all over town complained their neighbors had chickens. I didn't realize we had so many chickens in the city of Bartow. I guess this raise your own food. Everybody's raising their own eggs. So we have an ordinance in the works right now. We've gathered some ordinances from a lot of different cities. I think we have one from Frostproof, chicken ordinance there. So we're trying to learn from that. I mean, this is not the worst problem in the world, but it sure brings crowds to the city commission meeting.
Can we have a show of hands? Anybody else who has a chicken problem? You see that you have. There you go. There you go. And I'm pretty certain they have a lot of chickens in Fort Meade also. Mayor Elliott couldn't be here with us today.
Fort Meade has just passed an ordinance,
There you
too.
go.
We have a
There
copy
you
of
go.
that.
Yep. Okay.
So I'm looking forward to this roundtable.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor Tyler, follow that up with.
I don't think I can. I'm probably the newest at this. I was kind of hoping Howard would have took that spot, but this year number 22 for me, yes. And that's kind of scary for both my residents and me. But it's just awesome listening at my contemporaries here, because having been there quite that long, you look at things, you've been there long enough to pay for your own sins, so to speak. And the things that we're talking about now, we were talking about when I was a rookie at this. And you say, we live in Florida. How can we have a water problem? We're surrounded by it. We do. But I think I'm encouraged because from what I hear from this group right here, we've got the right people in place. From a personal standpoint, I am a native Floridian, born in Daytona Beach, in the shadows of what is now the Daytona 500 Raceway, just down the road at what was then Halifax District Hospital. I'm a product of Haines City High School now, but before anybody starts going, oh my goodness, There's two people in here that we're proud of, that were, one in your leadership, one who's the chief of Winter Haven's Police Department. So Haines City High does have something to be proud of. It does have something to live down. That's my category. Again, I am just immensely proud that this group of people have chosen to serve their fellow residents, because it's a positive thing when you realize that a couple of the things I think we're going to face. How do we forge out collaboration? I've been working for Polk since it was POKE County. It started in 1975, and we were all as fiercely independent as we could possibly be. I officiated high school sports for about 25 years, and if you think there's no competition, try being at the Fort Meade Frostproof football game on Friday night, the end of the season, or worse yet, Lakeland Kathleen at the end of the year. But I think we've all recognized now that there is a need for us. Regionalism is a term that we all currently understand. We understand for all of us to profit, we've got to hold each other's hand and collectively go in that direction. I think this group and the administrators that Polk has are the right ones to take us there. So as I look toward the end of my public service career, I've done it longer than I'm going to do it. I am hoping that I'm leaving it a little better than I found it. So I'll be happy when that time comes.
Great. Thank
I'm
you.
not looking for legacy, but I am looking for a way out the door pretty soon.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you. Mayor Pennant.
My name is Sam Pennant, and I'm the mayor for the town of Dundee. I was elected just over 4 years ago, and this is my third time being here at this forum. And the first time I came just over 2 years ago, I was really excited because I say this is one of the only forum where I think just about all of us from this county will get together as mayor and maybe exchange our concerns and other things that will be able to help us. And I made a few requests the first time I came, because we being here, I say, oh man, there should be some other people here, and I make mention if we could have members of the Polk County offices, say maybe the Polk County Commission, and here we are today. Mr. Danzler is here, and I think last year there were a representative from the Polk County Commission here. So that is a plus. Also, one of my concerns at that time was transportation, which I did make mention of. And today, I think coming from that first meeting, we have some positive returns on transportation in Dundee. We now have public transportation started in Dundee on a very small scale, and we are hoping that it will grow, if not through the 1 penny sales tax, at least through some other means. So I think this is a very productive forum, and I do hope it will continue for years to come. And as I would like to touch on our concerns, our most pressing concerns at this time in Dundee are roads, economic development, and our downtown revitalization. I think most of us share that sentiment, but I think roads is a very pressing issue for us. And I hope as we go along, maybe we can share some ideas, because I think just about all of us maybe have issues with roads. So hopefully some productive, meaning some productive result may come out of this session in terms of roads, economic development, and so on. So I won't be long in this session, but as we go along, we will be able to touch on some of these areas that will be able to help each and every one of us somehow. I must say, when there is a city that has a problem, is also the problem for the other city, because most of us are adjoining to each other. And most time when people move from place to places, sometimes they can't even identify what city they're in. So we all need to be in good shape so that we can have good results, because that's all the residents want. Sometimes they don't care what city they are in. They just need good results. And that leads us to where maybe we should really try to work at a closer level in terms of interlocal agreements. We do have a couple of those with some of our cities. And I do encourage us to get together and see how we can work at that level to make sure we serve our citizens well. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So Commissioner Dantzler, if you were the mayor, you'd be the mayor of the largest city in Polk County.
Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Great.
My name is Todd Dantzler. I'm the chairman of the Polk County Commission. I've been in office for just over 3.5 years. I was born and raised in Winter Haven. So Mr. Birdsong is my mayor, and I applaud y'all for keeping our taxes low. We can talk after this. And on a little bit of a side note, when I was a young boy, I was water boy for Mayor Birdsong's 2 twin brothers in their Little League football team, and I ended up playing football with his other younger brother, David. So I've known the Birdsong family for a long time. My dad was born and raised here in Winter Haven, so we've got a long tenure here. A little bit about me: I'm a realtor. I've got a residential real estate company here in Winter Haven and a commercial company in Lakeland. Been in real estate just about my entire life. My dad was mayor of Winter Haven in the early 60s, and my only memory of that was riding on the fire truck in the parade. So, and he passed away a few years ago, and my older brother had gotten into politics in 1982. He ran for the state house, and my dad told him, don't get involved with local politics because you'll be dealing with people's garbage problems, their road problems, and the stuff that we deal with every day. And sadly, he passed away before he was able to pass that advice along to me. So I've enjoyed it. It's something that we do need quality people running for office. We do need quality people making the decisions that run the businesses of the county. You know, some of the issues that we've heard today are economic development. Well, what that means is jobs. Is we've got to focus on how we can break down whatever barriers there are to making job creation happen. It's nice to have the Amazons in the world come in, but the truth of the matter is we're going to pull out of this by having 2, 5, 10 person job creation. And it's a lot easier to create that than it is to bring an Amazon in with 1,000 jobs or 300 or whatever. So that's where we need to be focusing. On the county level, we do interact a lot with the cities. We have mutual aid agreements. We have different parks issues. We have library issues. We have road issues. And I think we're going to talk about the transit tax here in a little bit, and I can give you a county perspective of why we put that on the ballot and what that means, and some of the, if it goes into place, what we will be doing on the county level. So I appreciate the opportunity to be here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. I'm sure my math is absolutely correct, and I was guessing we'd have over 100 years, so I came up with 120 years. So thank you all for your collective 120 years of service. Is this? And somebody else got 155. Okay. So we double count occasionally, and the point is it's over 100. So thank you very much for making that magic number come true. I was just doing a little tallying this morning to see, you know, which issues you would all talk about, and you brought up many familiar issues from my years at Polk Vision, but certainly our conversations over the last couple of days. And since Commissioner Dantzler just ended his introduction with the transit issue, with transportation, perhaps we'd like to start with that. So would you like to just begin by giving us that perspective about the ballot initiative and what it's all about? Okay.
At last year's board retreat, the 2013 board retreat, not this one, Tom Phillips, transportation director for Lakeland Area Mass Transit, he had brought forward the idea of increasing. It's 1%. It's not 1 penny. It's 1% sales tax for transit. So, you know, make sure you say it correctly when you do. But he had brought forward the idea that we need a dedicated funding source for transit, and a way to help sell that was to let's do also for transportation. And the difference is transit is riding on buses and getting people around, whether it's taxi, whatever it is, it's moving people. Transportation is our roads projects, building roads, retention, drainage around roads and everything. So, make sure you have that distinction. So the 1% sales tax increase would be split 50-50 between transit and transportation. And Mr. Phillips has done a great job of going around the county, talking to different communities about what their particular needs are in Lake Wales or Davenport or the Poinciana area or all over, and trying to craft a program that works for their particular community. Because obviously you can't have a big 43-foot bus driving around frostproof when a smaller bus will work. You kind of have to fit your needs. So we're not buying a whole lot of the big buses anymore. He's done a very good job of, customizing our service. With the 1% sales tax, that will raise about $32 million for transit and $32 million for transportation. It was asked that we put it on the ballot. The 5 commissioners, we decided to put it on the ballot, that it was of such importance that the voters should decide whether they want to tax themselves that way rather than the 5 of us imposing our viewpoints on that. So we put it on, and all 5 of us have stated publicly, and we've taken the pledge that if this tax passes, that we will immediately vote to rescind the 1 mil for roads. And I don't know what the mechanism is. It might be the next meeting or whatever, but that's what we have all pledged to do, and we're all still committed to that. And I think the folks in Lakeland that have a half a mil for roads, for them, they will repeal that as well. So the folks that are serviced by Lakeland Citrus Connection, they'll see a 1.5 mil decrease in their property tax. The argument for it is, 20 to 25% of it will be paid for by people who are coming to our community, our cities, our county, and buying gas and buying Cokes and buying whatever product that they pay sales tax on, so that we have outside folks that are paying some of that. Some of the negative is that we will be tied for the highest sales tax in the state of Florida at 8%. One thing that was also tacked onto there that people need to understand is it's capped at $5,000. So if you buy a car for $20,000, you're only paying that 1% increase on the first $5,000. So, to say, well, I'm going to go to Hillsborough County and buy a car, well, you can't drive over there for $50 in gas to save that, which is what the tax would be. So that's kind of the thought process that we went through. Mr. Phillips is kind of running the campaign for it. The county has put in some money for an education campaign. The county is not advocating for or against, because we cannot do that. The money that the county put in is for education, letting you know both sides of it.
Thank you very much. All right, who would like to weigh in on this to begin with? Mayor Foltz.
Thank you for making that correction. I said 1 cent, but it is 1%. And I'd like to also thank Tom Phillips, and also, who else was it that came with him to Lake Wales?
Paul Simmons from the county?
No, it wasn't Paul Simmons. It was Commissioner
Lindsay
that came, did an outstanding job at the Rotary, Breakfast Rotary there, explaining what the 1% was all about and how it was going to be used, and how property owners would actually see a decrease in the property taxes when that came about. And after listening to everything that was taking place there, I began to advocate every way I knew how to get people to understand that, and if they didn't understand it, direct them down a path to where they could get a great understanding of it before the November ballot comes out. And I do thank Tom Phillips for doing the outstanding work that he's doing, because without him, there would not be the things that we have already in place in our cities as far as transportation is concerned. So I reiterate, I hope that people will understand the magnitude of this 1% that you're talking about, so we can begin to see our county progress in a way that it never has before as far as transportation is concerned. It's much needed. Thank you.
Mayor Foltz, you brought this up when you were doing your introduction too. Can you talk to us a little bit about specifically Lake Wales and transit issues related to transportation and transit issues related to Lake Wales?
Okay, in Lake Wales, we have people who are pretty much scattered, and we do have some senior living facilities there, communities. And with them, a lot of them don't drive, but they do want some transportation. Let's say the ones that live on Chalet Suzanne Road, and there is a new development that's going in out there. With some of those individuals, they love to be able to catch a bus down to the mall, catch a bus over to the other side of town, catch a bus downtown to, hopefully, to the commission meetings and find out what's going on.
Careful what you ask for.
Oh, I've been there, done that, and believe me, when issues come up that are important to the people in that city, believe me, there's standing room, not even standing room only in City Hall, because many people show up to voice their opinions on things that are important to them. And as far as some of the younger people, that I'm glad to see that things have worked the way they have as far as Lake Wales is concerned, because having the Polk State College, J.D. Alexander complex there, to have those students to be able to ride those buses for free, to be able to have veterans to ride those buses for free, because we have a number of veterans there in town as well. And to expand this, I think, is only going to be better for everyone, because then we'll be able to get people to and fro on time, because I think that's the biggest complaint that's been taking place there is the time span between the buses running. And I think that can be something that will be alleviated as well with this 1% that's going out there. As Commissioner Dantzler said, half is going to be going on the roads, half of it's going to be going towards the transportation, but then it's going to be made equally important for everyone, whether they own property there or live there. They'll still be contributing to using those roads and using that transportation in the city. And I'm so looking forward to that happening.
Okay. Anybody else? Mayor LaCascia?
Yeah, well, coming from New York City, obviously, I mean, at 8 years old, I was traveling on buses and subways. In those days, there were no issues about anybody, about children doing those types of things.
So you were alone at 8 years old? Is that what you're telling me? Okay.
Yeah, quite frankly, everybody on that bus or subway was caring for you at that time. It's a little bit different now, I understand that. Sometimes my mother was discouraged when I found my way home, but for the most part, it worked out very well. So I come from that culture.
Right.
When we moved out to Long Island in New York, I also commuted to my downtown Manhattan offices with 54,600 of my closest friends every morning for an hour and a half, and an hour and a half back at night. That time can be put to very useful uses. I did a lot of studying for various professional degrees that I was hankering to get. And when you can study an hour and a half in the morning and an hour and a half at night before you get into the bar car, which is also on part of the train, it can be a very satisfying experience, especially the bar car when you know. But in any event. But in any event, so the point is, I think I come from the culture of mass transit, so it's easier for me to understand. I think the days are over when we can put our single bodies in a 4,000-pound automobile and try to drive around and get to someplace. It's taxing on the roads, and we have to keep, maintaining those roads. Put things in perspective, because I'm a very simple person, and thank you for the 1%, but I still think of every time you spend $1, 1 penny, okay, is going to go to that's the surcharge, basically, you'll be spending on the first $5,000. Exempt from that tax as well are non-prepared foods, so if you're going out and buying groceries, it's not going to impact on that, because the non-prepared foods are exempt. Utilities, mortgage, prescriptions, capital expenses for new and expanding business, and electricity and manufacturing. And the surcharge will only apply to the first $5,000. In terms of Polk City, I think for the most part, we all share the demographic of aging communities. We talk about over 55. I think the community I live, I think we're over 75, and there's one right down the road that's probably over 80 years old. And I'm talking about 600 to 900 people within a mile, within 5 miles of one another. Clearly, at one point in time, we're not going to be driving anymore. And I think that we have to look forward to some sort of mass transit. I think that the My Ride, every one of the cities has its own plan, as Commissioner Danza said, that was customized to work within that particular city. We have to, I think we always have to remember that we have to change doing things the same way when it's important to do so. There's a concurrence right now. I think we're in a unique situation from an economic standpoint, that we see our property values are rising. Concurrently with that, we have a couple of choices to make in terms of the millage rate. We can keep everything the same, and we can keep government small, but I think it's an opportune time to look into understanding the transit issue, exchanging dollars from the property tax. I think the reduction in the millage rate was very, very important because it's simply a swap. And I think people have to understand that concept, that while we use the word surcharge, on the back end, we're getting a reduction at the same time on our property taxes. So it's a concurrence that can come together during a good economic time of rising values. And I'd like people to continue to think about that. So as mayors, I think that we all have the same issues, and we have to make sure that our citizens understand that understand all of the consequences of it. Education is the key to this. To have it put forth it's going to be on the November 4th ballot, but I think they have to understand all of the issues to make an intelligent vote, and our role is to urge them to do so we can grow in our economic development as cities.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. As I said earlier when we started this conversation, one of the reasons that this is so important is so that connections and talk about perhaps how you collaborate and come together on some issues. And Mayor Birdsong, you mentioned to me earlier this morning before the workshop about a collaboration between the city of Winter Haven and the city of Lakeland this summer related to transit.
Yes. What we did is the police departments of Winter Haven and Lakeland and the transit came together, and they're going to provide the youth of our community free riding for the summer. And so a person can get on the bus in Lakeland and come over to Legoland. And our youth in Winter Haven can leave and go over to the skate park in Lakeland. But our two police chiefs, the monies that's going to be provided for this actually came from the funds that were seized through drug operations. So, and that's our two police departments collaborating. And we've made this, we had our ribbon cutting about 2 weeks ago. And so it's actually in operation as we speak. And it's just not for Winter Haven and Lakeland, it's for all of Polk County. So you can get on the bus in Winter Haven and go to any of the locations that the transit runs. And I think that's very important. And also, too, one of the things that we have been faced with transit is that when the transit system was initially started, we were getting much more federal funding. And I know that Howard and Todd, who sit, and some others that sit on the TPO, know that as a result of our last census, that basically we've become a standard urbanized area, so we don't get the same funds that we were getting to fund transit. So, you know, the referendum is very important to even sort of continuing transit as it is today, because basically we're not funded at the same rate that we have been funded in the past. And so we wholeheartedly support the referendum.
All right, thank you very much, Mayor Daley. Can we just make it quick, because we've got to get on?
Just real quick,
Sure.
mass transit is just so important. Every one of us talked about economic development, and there is no society in the world with good economic development that doesn't have a good mass transit system. But nobody's really talked too much about the road aspect of this. If we think about what's going to happen on 27, if we don't put in some overpasses when the trucks from CSX start driving up and down 27, the road portion of this would help to pay for more overpasses and more ways around those traffic problems. So it's another aspect that we really need to keep in mind that this would be a benefit for.
Great, and actually, that's an excellent segue into our next topic, which is economic development, because more than one of you mentioned economic development, and I know it means different things to different people. I almost called you Mayor Dantzler, Commissioner Dantzler. Yeah, we've talked about job creation. Mayor Daley, economic development was something that you mentioned to me prior to this morning's conversation too. When you think about economic development and Lake Alfred, and what's the population of Lake Alfred?
Right over 5,000.
There we go. How do you attack that? How do you do? What are the priorities?
Well, we started with, originally we developed a core area where we put a moratorium on impact fees, but then the county followed suit. They followed what we did and decided to do the same, so then we lost that little bit of edge. But then we also did a downtown visioning where we brought all the people in the community together and we decided what we wanted our downtown to look like, so we weren't going to be at the mercy of a developer who just came in and did it the way they wanted to do. We did a lot of changes to our land development codes to make it more, there's some incentives for doing some different things that are going to be more aesthetically pleasing. We also developed a Brownsfield area where we'll be able to have tax breaks for businesses who come in and they can get breaks on employee taxes. And we're in the middle of our CRA process right now. The county actually, they're going to vote at the next meeting to approve our CRA application. So there's a lot of things that we've been doing. After we did our downtown visioning, we put together a little marketing packet and we sent it out to different businesses that we want to draw to Lake Alfred. We didn't send it to any used car lots at all, but we sent it out to the kind of businesses that we would like to see in our downtown. So we've been very proactive in getting together and putting together a good package for looking for maybe a public-private partnership or any other way that we can get businesses to come to our downtown area.
Sure, thank you. And Mayor Tyler, I'm looking at you because I know that economic development is something that you've been engaged in, not just locally within Haines City and the county, but regionally. Can you talk to us a little bit about that and the importance of collaboration?
I think our challenge, Colleen, has been for us in Polk not to become the partial to the west side. I think probably Hillsborough County wants to adopt Lakeland. Orlando wants to adopt me in Haines City. And as a result, I think we've got to make sure we define what Polk County is going to be. It is, I think, the linchpin. People around this table have served on committees that have represented the entire Central Florida region, chairs coordinating committee in the west side, MPO on my side. We are the vital link that keeps Central Florida in place. Our challenge is how do we get there with our needs. Unfortunately, the issue you guys just talked about, Joe did, the reason they have mass transit is because the transit we got wouldn't work in New York. It's that simple. It just got to be a point where it gridlocked. They had to do something different. We're headed down that road. If I could get most of my residents to attend a TPO meeting with us and realize the cost to pave a mile worth of roadway, they'd realize what an investment that was going to be. Well, that's economic development. I got to get massive amounts of people from point A to point B. And I've got to get over the fact that a driver's license was a rite of passage for me, Joe, when I turned 16. You never needed one, all right? I had to have one because it meant independence. It meant I could go places that somebody else couldn't tell me when and where. And that mindset, I think, still exists a little. And the idea of getting on a bus meant somebody else chose the radio station. Somebody else chose which direction we went. those kind of things now, I think, all you got to do is get you some Beats earphones and plug in and get on this thing, you're good to go. Right? And I think it's imperative that us around this table give our people the facts and let them make what I hope is a well-informed decision, because it'll be true. They can pay now, or they'll be paying a lot later. It's that simple. And we got to find a way to make sure they understand that.
You know, I think in Polk City we might have maybe a disproportionate number of folks that are living at or below the poverty level. And when you think about owning an automobile and maintaining one with everything that goes with that, it's $6,500 a year. So it becomes an important issue. Well, I can't afford a car. I can't afford to go out and even look for a job. I can't afford to do this. I can't afford to go here. So it is, as we're in the business of taking care of our citizens, public health, public welfare.
Sure.
Okay, and I think all of these things are tied into a good transit system. There was one thing about the, I think Nancy had mentioned about the economic development tied into, I forget the words you used, Nancy, a good transit system, and we did, Tom Phillips did share with us that Brookings Institute cited Polk County as number 7 out of the top 100 areas for poverty, partly due to lack of a good transit system. I think that is something that we have to really work upon. More people, you know, a dynamic society is one that wakes up in the morning and gets out of their house. They shop, they go to education, they go to jobs, they look for jobs. Without a dynamic society moving around, it becomes very, very stagnant and a very passive society. Consequently, I think we owe it to our citizens to allow them the freedom to get about and do what they want to do. And I think this is a perfectly good economic time to bring that to our citizens and, again, have them understand all of the issues and make the most intelligent vote they can when it comes to November. That is a goal which we all should aspire to. I have one question by a show of hands, if I may. Is anybody against this, as far as the mayors in their city? Do we have any particular issues that we're against? Or are we kind of all for it from a consensus standpoint? We're all for it? Yes. I mean, we don't have anybody, so we're kind of good with that. Just
Okay.
wanted to get an idea where we sat.
To wrap it, Colleen?
Yes, sir.
Before I let Joe get on his soapbox over there.
Before we get back to economic development?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's where I'm going. And we also have to figure out what diversification is going to mean for us. I think we know what Polk County was 20 years ago. As it evolves, you know, ag has been its backbone and structure. Nobody knows that any more than our realtors like Todd and the rest of. As we evolve, how do we keep that industry integrated into what we do, because it's evolving. Raising cows is not what it used to be. And anybody that has, like Ann there, grows, realize that it's not what it used to be. Right. And it's being threatened even more. As we attempt to diversify our economy, in Haines City, I certainly had to meet the challenge of, you know, I worked like heck for 3-4 months out of the year, and my residents collected what they call rocking chair money for the other part of, and it's like, what the hell is rocking chair money? Well, that's unemployment compensation, all right? And that was their expectation as times went along. That's what they did. They worked like crazy. They liked the dark for the season of, and then they either migrated to some place where they worked from daylight to dark again, or they collected rocking chair money. Your economy is not going to flourish doing that. As a result, as I start to diversify, when I started this, like probably Howard over there, I was thinking, make this place a place my kids don't have to leave to survive. Now I'm kind of hoping it's a place my grandkids don't have to leave to survive. Because I didn't realize how long it would take. I thought I could do it in one term. Most of the people
20
here,
year ago, you
yeah,
thought that?
yeah,
Okay.
I thought that
Thank
about
you.
21 years ago. But I think it's potentially there.
Sure.
Yeah, and again, this group and groups like it, I think, and certainly, I've had the chance to meet most of the administrations of these cities and the county. I think we're in good hands. I think we're in great hands, in fact.
Mayor Wiggs, can you talk about the city of Lakeland and what's happening as relates to economic development? I'm sure your downtown conversation will fit into that. What are we doing, or what are you doing in the city of Lakeland so that your grandchildren or your children don't have to leave?
Well, we talk about in Lakeland, similar to what Mayor Tyler's talking about, we don't want our biggest export to be our young people. As a result, we've attended conferences and so forth talking about the millennial groups, how important they are as a component. They're going to be, by the way, the most educated demographic in the history of this country, but how important a component they are. They bring so much energy. They're also impatient. They want to live downtown. There's a big move to urbanization, so all of our downtowns will benefit if we can improve the downtown, provide the amenities to attract the millennials to the downtown area, and they complement so well with the more experienced demographics and so forth. We baby boomers, not many. I guess I'm probably one of the few baby boomers, maybe. So we're very blessed. We've got a new group called Ignite Lakeland that has come together to plan for our downtown. We've got a really neat $13 million development coming in that will provide residential. We've got a $160 million development that will be mixed use. The future's really bright. I think the thing that's most important about us getting together, from my perspective, is the discussion beginning with regions. A region of Polk County, a region across the state. When I look back at some of the things that have separated us or divided us over the years, how different the conversation could have been if our first thought had been, how can we work together? I think about the little bit of a rift, hopefully it's gone away, Mayor Birdsong, but when we had the CSX issue, and thinking about how much better the conversation would have been had we started out between Winter Haven and Lakeland saying, we recognize fully that Winter Haven needs economic development, needs the jobs. We need to look out for some things in our community. How can we work together to make this better? Instead, the conversation was, we got to be sure and tell our legislative delegation to neutralize whatever Winter Haven's doing, because this is going to be a bad thing. So we started it from the conversation from being a negative thing. When I go to mayor's conferences, 3 or 4 weeks ago, Mayor Buddy Dyer is on one side of the table, and Mayor Kreisman on the other, and Mayor Buckhorn in the middle. As we talk about the importance of regions I'm sure under Gal's administration it began, and now it's continuing. Where's Polk County going to fit into this region? We're talking about needing connectivity. Mayor Buckhorn believes that light rail is going to either go from Orlando north to Jacksonville, or it's going to go west to Tampa, and it's not going to do both, certainly not maybe in my lifetime, certainly my political lifetime. So he's concerned, and others are concerned in a really big way of, is Polk County going to be a player in this? Are we going to be part of the connectivity? And then you take that to the next step. Whenever Darlene's got an issue or Sam's got an issue or whatever, most of the time I can't directly help them, and they can't directly help me. There'll be instances like CSX, and we could have handled that a lot better and wish we had. But the thing we can all do, if we're all coming from a desire to work together collectively, regionally, as a county, as a larger region, and I think this is the message that Orlando's concerned about, that St. Petersburg and everybody in our region is how can we work together from the legislative influence? How much stronger the message is, whether it be with water issues, which we know our water, we're going to all be on the same page on water. We're not on the same page as South Florida on water, clearly. And so how can we join together to have the clout that we can exercise as we get our entire legislative delegations working together? We saw it on a smaller scale when we recently had and no criticism at all to the county commission. They did what they thought was important, but the conversation when we were talking about TDC money for the stadium, there's an immediate concern, well, whoa, if we use all the money here, what's going to be left over? Well, that is a very valid consideration. But it was a little bit adversarial. I don't think it needed to be. I think if we're meeting together more closely, we listen to the perspectives of everybody, and we say, 14.5 million is what it's got to be. And rather than us being, and I hope you got my note, Commissioner Dancer, thanking you for that commitment. But I think an Orlando or a St. Pete or a Tampa are saying Polk County can be really important if we can influence our legislative delegation as much as we can to join together. And I think this is particularly important in the light of that the South Floridans are joining together, and they exercise a lot of clout. And when you have 80% of the people in this state are within 20 miles of the coast, we have a really different perspective on where what is good for internal versus external, central part of Florida versus the coastal folks. So that's what I see as really, really important here as we build our relationships. Now, Polk County is, I think we've got a pretty good relationship, frankly. When I go to Ridge League meetings, we're constantly supporting one another. We're talking about what's good for one another. That's not necessarily what we're doing yet throughout the region, but that's something that's got to be on the front burner as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, well, could I get you to share a little bit, to take you back to downtown and economic development? We're going to take a break in about 5 minutes. And during the break, I'd like to remind our audience members there are these nice index cards at the desk by the door. If you'd like to have some questions asked during the second part of our session, please get them to me when we have a break. But talking about that working together and realizing that there's some shared I want to say synergies in each of the cities for how you move your downtowns and how you develop economically. Can you talk a little bit about the catapult in Lakeland? Because I think that's something that's an example of something that perhaps all of our cities could learn from. And perhaps
we really see the success of our downtown, like all of you all do, likely, as having a plethora of components. Mm-hmm. LEDC is important. They've started the catapult. It's an incubator system. Incubator idea, but then it becomes shared space. If you look at what the millennials like to do, and that's expanding out, shared space is really important. We have just a group, in fact, the folks are here today in the downtown, recognizing the importance of culture and arts to economic development. We've really gotten on board, I think, and we're coming together as a community for that. Now we have an incubator system of sorts called the Culture Lab, starting in our downtown area. So you add a catapult and you add the Culture Lab, and then we've recently appointed a business task force to talk about how can we in Lakeland, and then hopefully it expands out, become recognized as the most business-friendly city in the state of Florida. Well, you do that by looking at your processes, you look at the way you permit things, how quickly you can get things accomplished. And I would ask all of the mayors, if you've got something working in your city that really inures to the benefit of the business community in a way of making it seem more business friendly or speeding up the process, we'd really like to hear about it, because that's going to be the focus of our business task force, is how can we develop a business friendly environment. But what we really believe is all of those things kind of have to work together. Mm-hmm. If the catapult needs some assistance, and Tony Delgado is saying, I'm too busy to give you the time you need, then that hurts the system. And I'm sitting down with folks all the time now, as you find out as mayor, is the folks that are companies that want to benefit from the Florida Polytechnic are concerned what Lakeland's going to do in the process. But they're also concerned about what Auburndale, Winter Haven, and Haines City are doing. And so the relationships that Auburndale has with Lakeland, with us jointly funding our bus to Polytechnic, to me, that is all part of the economic development potential being realized, that we're starting to work together and we're thinking about working together. So downtown, we've got a lot of things that will need to work together, like Catapult, like LEDC, like the Culture Lab that I just mentioned, to make downtown Lakeland be as good as it can be.
Thank you, and I think that's an excellent way to close out this first half of our session. Mayors, you get 10-minute break, and we'll be back here and ready to start at 10:30. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you all for continuing to stay with us as we wrap up the final hour of our Mayor's Roundtable. When we left before the break, we were talking about economic development and Mayor Wiggs had given us some great insight into things that are happening in Lakeland that I know you can all transfer to your cities in some form and fashion. But we've had some questions from the audience about arts. So let's talk a little bit, if we could, about like your insights on the value that the arts play in economic development in our municipalities and in the county. So who'd like to start that conversation? Mayor Dickinson, can I ask you?
Yes.
Okay.
In Frostproof, we're a very small community, 3,000 people. It swells the population in the wintertime. We have a lot of winter visitors there that stay in Frostproof. But and there, of course, there's no entertainment there for people. And our community went together, a group, and purchased the old Raymond Theater movie house built in the 20s, and they have converted it to a what we now use as a downtown, sort of a center of our downtown for meetings, for entertainments, just a general use of that building now. The director of it happens to be our Frostproof City vice mayor, and she's brought in a lot of improvements to that theater. One of our main events there is our murder mystery dinners, which are held once a quarter. And people, it's not so much the people from Frostproof we found out that attend that, it's people from other communities that look forward to this event, and they come. We have good food that's served there for the dinner, and it's a informal event. If you've ever been to a murder theater event, you kind of know how that goes. When you've got people at a table who collaborate to figure out who done it. And it was interesting, though, when they really got down to study it, that it was bringing people in from outside the community, some as far away as Polk City, that come almost regularly. They also look forward to an Elvis impersonator who's really very good. And that's always a packed house. That's a sold-out event. Great. It's when Elvis shows up. Elvis is in the house.
So in Frostproof, you took a resource that was there, right? And it was a private-public partnership. The city was involved in it also. And now you've developed something where you're drawing from across the county.
Right.
So there's a resource in Frostproof that's being utilized by our citizens all across Polk County.
Right.
Fabulous. Does anybody else have a success story? Yes.
I'd just like to say that several weeks ago, there was an excellent meeting at Southeastern University. I forget, it's sponsored by the Council of Arts, talking about arts and education, arts and economic development, and it was, we had some wonderful speakers, and certainly pointed out the value of arts in education, that the students who are involved in some part of arts do better, educationally and so forth. And it was just an excellent conference. I was very impressed.
Fabulous. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Mayor?
I would,
Mayor Cowie.
I think Mayor Wiggs mentioned, how do we work into the region as a county? And when we talk about the arts and all the things that we have going on now, in Auburndale, we don't have a murder mystery going on, but we do have our downtown museum that goes, talks about the history of Auburndale, which is something that we're proud of there. But in our city, we have an economic development director, community development director, and she also serves as the economic development director in our city. And part of her job is marketing the city of Auburndale. showing off all of the great things in the city of Auburndale, which we have, I think most cities and the county, of course, has that. So, the arts play into that. Transportation that we talked about earlier plays into that. So I think, the biggest thing is, as a group, is how do we market all of these great things that are happening in all of the cities throughout the county and get that message out. As if we're going to be a part of that region. I travel all over the state as I work, and we go, when people ask you where you're from, I always tell them Auburndale, because that make them ask where that is, because a lot of them don't know yet.
Right.
But, as you explain that, there you go, it's tougher. But you tell them, hey, I'm between Tampa and Orlando. Everybody knows approximately where you're at when you say that. So that's, being part of that region is a big part of that. And talk about arts, but in general, everything that we have going on, that's our challenge from the city's standpoints, and then from the county's standpoint, is to get that message out beyond. We all know it. We're here and we know it.
Right.
We've got to get it out further.
Sure. Mayor Birdsong, did you have something to add to the arts?
One of the things when we start talking about economic development, it also revolves around a quality of life issue. Economic development is basically, from my standpoint, is split into two categories. You're either going to have business development, or you're going to have what I call people development, moving in. And oftentimes you may get businesses that move in, and the people that actually work for those businesses don't even want to live in your community, because basically you don't have all of the things that they think are necessary. So art is very important, and in the city of Winter Haven, we have our downtown sculpture project that basically the commission said, well, okay, we're going to fund this so that those art pieces can be located in the community. We have a world-class theater, Winter Haven, that puts on productions, and it's really recognized throughout the United States as one of the great community theaters. So we have aviation art. So we're looking to have art as a part of the landscape of Winter Haven as we pursue greater economic development. And basically, we all want to grow and develop our downtown areas, and to that extent, we're working diligently in our downtowns. Unfortunately, the CRAs are not as productive as they have been in the past because of basically the tax base, as we all know and we all face this, has been flat. In fact, as I stated earlier, has been just basically probably less than half of what it's been in the past. It's coming back. I know Commissioner Dantzler can attest to that. He's in the real estate, so it is coming back. But, you know, all of our economic development opportunities, we have to have art and art-related activities in our communities. And it will basically make Polk County, you know, is a place where there is art. We appreciate the arts. We spend money on the arts, because that's the other thing, is that nobody's bringing the arts in and funding it for you. We as municipalities have to spend money on the arts, and we do.
Well, and so Mayor Birdsong mentioned Polk County, and Mayor Cowie also talked about regionally and what we're doing and letting everybody know what's happening. Commissioner Dantzler, what are your thoughts on?
Sure. I see Erin Killebrew came in. I just want to let people, I was talking to her last week a little bit about this. And Commissioner Bell has championed the arts for the county. And she was able to get us to lead the effort for us to restore funding to the Arts Council, and has really got it organized. The issue with arts is, to me, it's more of a quality of life. It's hard to quantify the economic development. The folks that come down to the murder mystery, unless they're staying in a hotel or eating in a restaurant, they come and then they go. So it's important for the quality of life, absolutely, and like Mayor Birdsong just said, but it is important for us to have a better life while we're here. We have a heads and beds tax, and that's what helps. I think we dedicated about $450,000 to use that to supplement the marketing efforts when the Arts in the Parks wants to come in or other things. So we are making a concerted effort to do that. If you bring a baseball tournament into Polk County and they stay for the weekend, you can kind of quantify that they're staying here for 3 nights and they're eating in this many restaurants and they're buying this kind of food from Publix or they're buying Gatorade, they're doing whatever. But on an arts event, when they come in and then they leave, it's hard to track down exactly how much they do. So they have a huge impact, but it's hard to put a number on it. And that's what we've been working on the last year or two, is to work with the Arts Council to find out what that dollar volume is so that we can give it the proper credit.
Okay, great. Yes.
And in Polk, how do we quantify the arts? You know, if I sit here, I could tell you, based on what I learned right here at this same institution, who a Ludwig, a Johannes, a Sebastian would be. The first name of the 3 B's of composure. But I'll also tell you that I like sushi if you batter it and deep fry it. So from which end of that spectrum does the arts generate for me here in Polk? And I think, like Todd was talking about, that's where we are having trouble trying to say, how can we quantify what it does from the economic development side? I certainly know what it does from the quality of life side, right? But that's a tough one to put into the X's and O's equation.
Sure.
Yeah.
Did I see a hand over here, Mayor?
I can say from the quality of life side is moving on up. As far as our Lake Wales Arts Council, they are doing a fantastic job. Have a function that goes this past year, I think it was down around the lake. You've got artists from all over Polk County, all over the state, some from out of the state that are coming in. It's a big event. And we have a new director of the Polk State College Art Museum that's there, Osha B. Craig, doing a wonderful job. He's bringing jazz in at noon, having jazz on the steps of J.D. Alexander College downtown, where people can come and sit and eat lunch and enjoy jazz during that time. He's at a jazz festival at the Art Museum, at the Art Center, and that jazz festival was outstanding. Some of the most top-rated musicians from around the world that were coming in there and performing for us. He had one group from Cuba, and this will be their last time performing in the U.S. for at least another 7 or 8 years, and they did their last performance there in Lake Wales. And he is continuing to bring new and bigger talent into Lake Wales on the music side. He makes periodic trips to New York. He's trying to get some of the stage plays down this way, but we need a venue to actually host them when they come. But he's very active, and we are a very artsy city. We're looking at the downtown area becoming more art-oriented, to begin to bring more art into the downtown area where you'll have that music, you'll have that sidewalk art, you'll have different ones displaying their talents as they set up in that downtown area. We are at a point now to where we can dream and we can see great things taking place as far as the arts are concerned. Very important, because that's going to be one of the attractors in bringing people into the city. So as far as economic development is concerned, it'll bring people in, and if they're just there for a day, they're going to spend something while they're there. And we are proud of our arts in Lake Wales right now.
All right, thank you. Let's move on, if we could, to a conversation involving Florida Polytechnic University. Here again, for many of you around the table, it's seen as an economic development stimulator for your communities. I'm going to go right to you, Mayor Cowie, if you want to talk to us about, in the city of Auburndale, what are you doing in anticipation of the opening of the university?
Well, we're very excited about it. Obviously, technically, it's in the city of Lakeland, but, it is, we feel it's closer to Auburndale.
I think you said it abuts Auburndale earlier, yes.
I might have been my word. But regardless, it's not just for Auburndale. It's a great addition for the county, obviously, city of Lakeland and everybody involved. We look at it as a big boost to us. We feel a lot of the faculty, a lot of the students are going to spend a lot of their off-campus time in the city of Auburndale. Mayor Wiggs mentioned that we partnered together to purchase a bus so we could work with the transit authority to make sure that we have transportation available as the college opens in the fall. We look at that as not just being a benefit for the students and the faculty that are going to be attending the school, but we look at it for our citizens as well, because it's going to increase the bus service that goes through the city of Auburndale. When we talk about economic development, obviously, and the transit that plays into that, and how those buses bring those individuals into our downtown area, frequent our restaurants, our downtown area businesses and things like that. So we look at that as being a positive. We've also partnered with the Polytech on water and things like that will be a benefit to them and us as well. And those things, the bigger picture of that, I think, for residents is they look at, well, we might be spending a few dollars to buy a bus to help the Polytech, but what are all the benefits that our community is going to see? It's going to help grow our city, our tax base, revenues, et cetera, that are going to make it better for all the citizens involved. And that's our challenge. I think it's always our challenge as elected officials to explain why we're doing this and how it's going to benefit all of the residents, not just the Polytech in this particular instance. So, but it's, I think it's starting obviously this fall with a small group of students as they get going, but the potential as we look 10, 15, 20 years down the road, to me, it's a major game changer for the Polk County. And it's going to be one of those things, if you look at the other new colleges that have opened up around the state and throughout the country and how it transforms those areas, that's really going to be a catalyst for us as we go back to that region as a whole, how we fit in, how it's going to attract new businesses to our area that specialize in the fields that are going to be taught at that school. And then we have those things that we've been talking about all morning that want to keep those people living in our communities as they work at these new industries that come into Polk County, that they're moving into our county and our cities, building homes, starting families, and doing those sort of things. It's going to be a major impact for Polk County for many, many years to come.
Sure. Mayor Wiggs, I can't leave this discussion at all without going to you and talking about the city of Lakeland and how the city of Lakeland is anticipating the opening of the university and preparing for it.
We're pretty excited about it, obviously, but as Mayor Cowie said, it would be a big mistake for us to think about this in terms of Lakeland's University. This is truly a fantastic regional opportunity for all of our cities. As I was talking to a company that came the other day that was not going to locate even in Polk County. But the ancillary is a million dollar deal. But they came to Lakeland to say, because we already see some ancillary things that will be happening, probably more likely happening over towards you all, Keith, than us even, because y'all are so close to it. But he had Mayor Cowie had the key word. This is a transformational opportunity for our entire community. I made a statement to this one company, sounds like a game changer. And he said, trust me, this company will be a game maker. And those are the kinds of things that are happening. We committed, as most everybody knows, we committed $5 million to the project. We will do some other things, I suspect. But I really want us to talk about this one. It's a big one in terms of what it means for our entire county. It's certainly not just Lakeland.
Sure. Mayor Bradley, Davenport, you sit right up there in the northeast corner of Polk County. We know you mentioned earlier the explosion of growth of new building. Are you talking about the university in Davenport, and what might you think the impact might be to your community? You're right up the street, basically, from it.
Well, honestly, no, we haven't been talking about the university. We haven't. I've been focusing more on the high schools. I've been working with the high school students at Ridge Community High School. I know it's located officially in Haines City, but we've adopted them. And it's been a great partnership that we've had with the school this year, but we will continue. We've been working with the Alpha Sigma teachers at the Ridge Community High School. So, the students, I just attended several of the graduation ceremonies, a lot of the award ceremonies that they recently had, but quite honestly, no, we haven't, but I guess we need to start promoting that.
Well, then I'm going to bounce back to you, Mayor LaCascia, because you sit right there next to the university, too, in very close proximity. How do you see it impacting Polk City?
Well, honestly, Auburndale is number one. Whatever spillover we can get from them coming down Berkeley, I mean, we're there. It's right down Polk Parkway. You can go down Mount Olive Road and right to Polk Parkway, and it's there. So I almost tend to think that we are closer to it than even Auburndale. However, we have none of the offerings that Auburndale has to offer what's going to happen over there. So I suspect that early on when I realized it was going to become a reality, that it was actually going to happen, and with the perspective of how grand it was going to be, I started calling some developers that own a lot of property down on Mount Olive Road west towards Polk Parkway. And they have been waiting, like many developers, waiting for an uptick in the economy to, meanwhile, they've been paying all of their taxes and paying all of their charges and staying in good, fiscal spirit with the city. And I called a lot of them and said, you might want to talk to us about changing some of your zoning down there, because possibly you might want to go from single-family residence maybe into some sort of multi-housing. And we are talking to them. There's a great deal of property between Route 33 and west of Polk Parkway that we think that can create some residential development. I think a lot of the retail development is going to be down Berkeley Road, off of Pace Road to Berkeley Road, where they're anticipating, and I think that's where a lot of the retail development and commercial development is going to be. So we don't have a lot to offer to them other than, as I say, the spillover from whatever happens. We're certainly excited about it. As Mayor Wigg said, it's not only the small communities that are just waiting for something to happen. This is, if it takes off the way I think it's going to take off, because of technology and where it is, one moment we're dealing here and one moment we're dealing there, it's changes like that. So I think the world of technology is going to be very important, and we're happy to be where we are, and whatever we can offer to it, we will.
Great. Mayor Birdsong, I have to, oh, sure, Mayor Daley, okay, we're going from Auburndale, we got Lake Alfred, and then Winter Haven. What's happening in Lake Alfred?
Lake Alfred is just up the street.
Sure.
A lot of the activity. We still have that rural nature. We have a lot of developments that were poised to start building just before the big recession, and a lot of those were also on hold, right up 557 and 557A. So we're in the process now of looking at our ULDCs to create some more incentives for those properties as far as bringing their water and sewer to them, so that we can bring some of them back to the table. And the more rooftops we have, then the better our chances for development downtown. And the one thing we have over Polk City and Auburndale is we have the best restaurants in Polk County in Lake Alfred. Between Luigi's and Gary's and Lavender and Lace, and I mean, we just have the best, so.
Okay, well, the restaurant gauntlet has been thrown down. I'm sorry, I mean, I tried to avoid this, but we'll all go to lunch someplace, and we'll figure that one out. Thank you, Mayor Daley. Mayor Birdsong?
Yes. The one thing that the technology and the university, from a regional standpoint, it put us in a unique position. And we have even talked about us becoming like a Silicon Valley in California, and I don't have to say any more to you all to know what that spurred. But as it relates to the university itself, the mere fact that we're going to have that type of university in our county, we all will ultimately benefit from it. Now, the city of Winter Haven, we have our own little technology hub downtown Winter Haven, and for those of you that may not know it, that a lot of the computer storage and switching and internet is in what used to be the old GTE building downtown Winter Haven. There are companies from South Florida that has storage of their records that are there. The city of Winter Haven is there. The hospital has their records. I mean, it's one of the best kept secrets that a lot of people don't know about. Sprint is there, and so there's a major operation of internet and computer services right there in Winter Haven. And so we will benefit from that because from the university, because companies will be looking, and once they know that we have the employment base, and that's really, economics is about jobs, jobs, and more jobs. And so hopefully we will have a one-up on attracting businesses to Polk County. And when I say Polk County, it doesn't matter whether it's in Winter Haven or Lake Alfred or Lakeland. We are one because we are Polk County. And so I think that's really important. And that's one of the things that I get most out of what we're doing here today is that even though we're individuals, we've got our own battles, but we are one in this region, and we either going to all survive or it's going to be chaos for us all. And so that's the great news about the university, is that I think it will help all of us in Polk County.
Do any of the mayors have any particular initiatives in their communities, or is it part of the conversation in Bartow?
Yeah, I just want to say I certainly agree with Mayor Birdsong that Florida Poly is going to be a wonderful thing for the whole area. We are currently very excited about the opening of the Polk State College Corporate College in the city of Bartow and the Clear Springs Business Park, and that's their keystone in that park. So we're very encouraged by that, and we hope that Florida Poly can attract some businesses that might locate in the Clear Springs Corporate Park as well. So we feel that it's all great for the region.
Mayor Pennant, you're nodding your head a lot, so do you have something to add?
Yes,
to this?
I was just making observation of the cities that are closer to this university, but someone make an interesting point that we could be the new Silicon Valley. And with this kind of establishment, university close to us, I would agree with that. Because even though some of us might not be next door to it, it will have a positive effect on our neighborhoods. Because even for the fact that we will have students, I would imagine, from just about every community surrounding this university, attending this university. And this is where the bigger picture comes in that we touched on earlier on transportation. So I think, like Mayor Birdsong says, we need to stick together because we are one. This is one county. It's either we will survive together or we'll fall apart together. I think this is very exciting, and every one of us should be positive about it and see how we can chip in to make sure we do whatever we can to make this university a success.
Well, and so Commissioner Dancer, I know that the Board of County Commissioners has had a great deal of involvement and made investments also into the areas around infrastructure for the university. How does the Board of County Commissioners see their role moving forward in developing that area?
We've done a lot. Previous commissions have done a lot. We're very supportive of their efforts. I think we've invested $21 million in the road system and infrastructure up there. We don't invest specifically into the university itself, but Florida Poly is going to be a game changer. I think that was said earlier. You look at what UCF is and what it's done to that community. Florida Poly will not be on that scale because I was listening to Senator Alexander. He said a typical poly is 10 to 12, maybe 15,000 students as a big polytechnic university. But you look at what's grown up around UCF and what's going to happen. There's a lot of land out there to develop. So we're going to work with them, work with the city of Lakeland and Auburndale to do whatever we can. Polk County is only as strong as its smallest and weakest, and it's only as strong as our largest and strongest. So we've got to work together collaboratively. I think we do a pretty good job. Mayor Wiggs got 250,000 folks in Lakeland, 150 of them live in the county.
Yeah.
So 100 are in the city limits. And, whereas each of us have a specific amount of folks that we're kind of responsible for, the county, everybody lives in the county. So I think we are trying to provide a good partnership between the counties. With the university, we've been very supportive. We've gone and done just about whatever they've asked. Within our limits. So I'm excited for it. It's great for the entire county. CSX is great for the entire county. Mosaic is great for the entire county. People that live in Frostproof are going to work at Florida Poly. Florida Poly may spin off something in Frostproof, in Mulberry. I mean, the possibilities are endless. So everybody needs to step up their game and start planning for this and how this can benefit your community and how you can attract some of the spin-offs, some of the jobs, some of the investment that will come because of Polk County, because of Florida Poly.
Great, thank you. That's a great wrap-up, I think, to that conversation. But it also is a great segue into the next topic, which is going to be water. I heard a lot about water earlier this morning when you're doing your introductions. And so Florida Polytechnic's going to be here. Your downtowns are going to be thriving. Are you going to have the quality and the quantity of water that you need for the future? And so since some of you mentioned it along the way, I'd like some input from you, if you could, on where you see not just your community, but certainly your community's role as a partner with the other communities in Polk County in making sure that you have that quantity and quality of water that you're going to need for the future. So who would like to start that conversation? I'm looking at Mayor Cowie. Well, Mayor LaCascia, you jumped in. Go ahead.
Well, in terms of, tomorrow, by the way, Friday is water school. And the following Friday is another full day of water school. And I've gone to a few of them to learn of the water issues. And it was interesting, the first, my first water school that I attended, I had done some research and I read a letter to everybody, and it talked about all of the issues, all of the downside, where we were headed, all of the problems, and it talked about what we were doing about it. And when I got through with the letter, everyone said, well, this is really happening. I gave them the date on the letter. It was dated 10 years ago. Danny Kushma was at that meeting. It was a 10-year-old letter. And then we dissected the letter a little bit, and not one damn thing was done. That all of the warnings that letter pointed out 10 years ago, there wasn't one thing that was done in a specific way to remedy some of the water issues. And I don't know how far down the pike we've come from that. We all tend to, as we drive around, maybe the issue is we see water everywhere, so we don't consider it a problem. However, we do know that it is a problem. So I certainly don't have all of the answers. A lot of them deal with the hydrological issues. We're dealing with deep water wells, and we're doing a lot of exploration and trying to figure out where the answers are going to come from. I think that we simply, with the help of the county, we simply have to address these issues and make sure that we're going to have the water quality that we're going to need, because certainly the population is going to grow.
Well, and Mayor Bradley, 700 new homes at least, right? Yes. So when you anticipate the addition of those homes, what are you doing or are you ready for it? Do you have the water for it?
Well, we have water. We're good with water. My biggest concern right now is with the new 700 homes is our wastewater treatment facility.
Okay.
We have capacity at the moment, but with these 700 homes coming, and I think they're going to start building in November. Actually, some are under construction now, but, that's the first thing I said. We need to, at the meeting Monday night, I said, let's get our budget going, and this needs to be a priority. We need to be prepared for the growth.
Right.
And not just water, our streets, everything. It's going to impact everything. So.
And Mayor LaCascia mentioned that the letter that was 10 years old, and it was a conversation within the county, correct? And amongst the cities. So what kind of sense of urgency do you all have? Yes, sir. Mayor Birdsong.
I think that we all recognize and realize that if our county continues to grow and we continue to use the water at the rate that we're currently using it, that at some point we're going to reach capacity. And there are certain things that I know that that we have done as a city, and one of the major things that we've done has been reuse water, and I think in the future that all municipalities will have to find ways and fund the mechanism to obtain and distribute reuse water. In fact, I know a couple of years ago there was actually an effort on maybe on the state part to actually tax or control the use of reuse water. And for those of you that may not know, water is the one item that we have absolutely no control over. Water is controlled by the state, and the state has these water management districts that are almost like states into themselves. I don't mean that, but in a way it is. And so basically, we're going to have to find ways to basically have water available to us in the future like we have it now, because at some point we're going to reach a point where South Florida Water Management Districts, as we grow, the consumptive permits that we have, we will reach capacity. And at some point, they may not be able and willing to give us additional usage permits. And so at that point, you will not be able to, as someone has mentioned, you won't have concurrency because you can't provide the water for the growth and the development, not just for homes, but for business as well. So we're looking at that. And also, the city of Winter Haven, we've done a plan to try to keep the water that the rain allows to fall to stay in Winter Haven. And there's another thing is that I know we all realize that we sit on the ridge, so our water flows south. And basically, so the water that's in Winter Haven is going to end up in wherever, down Charlotte. So we're trying to keep our water here, but even though we may keep it here, that doesn't mean that we will have the opportunity to pump more, because basically, again, that's a South Florida Water Management District. You have to go through some great hoops to increase your presumptive pumping capacity. And so I have to, there's a plan that's being worked on with the county that we will basically come together, and I know that's going to be a tough one because it's a very expensive plan and it requires all of us to contribute towards it. And so I know it's being developed, but now even once it's developed, whether or not it will ever be totally constructed is another issue. So, I mean, these are issues that are not going to go away. And if the county is going to continue to grow and people use water, then we're going to have to get and become unified in trying to ultimately solve the water problem, because it's not going to go away.
Well, Commissioner Dantzler, I recall that when Mike Kerr was county manager, he had an initiative to bring together all of the cities in the county to talk about water issues. So where are we today?
This started about 10 years ago, like Mayor said, and it's been a collaborative effort with SwiftMud and the South Florida Water Management District. It's to dig a well and do a loop with water lines around the county. All the municipalities had bought into it. A little monkey wrench was thrown into it last summer, but I think we're back on track. I think it was approved, and I think SwiftMud is going to pay for half approximately half. No, they had already agreed to that. So that makes it easier for...
Oh, he's just not agreeing right now on the spot.
No,
Okay, great.
he gave me the thumbs up. But we're talking 320, 300 some odd $1 million, and I think Swift Mud has ended up between 150 and 200, 196 in my head, but I'm not sure if that's the exact number. So we've got to strike while the iron is hot with this. We've got collaboration with Swift Mud in South Florida, the cities. Water is a huge issue that is being debated all over with how we get it, how we move it, how we keep it, how we retain it, and how we drink it. So the county is on top of this. It's going to be expensive for the cities. It's going to be expensive for the county. There's folks that think the county's just going to create this big water system and everybody's got to bow at our feet. That's not the truth. Everyone has the ability to buy in at whatever level they want to be in, but this is what we think is a long-term solution to a ever-increasing problem. The water is going to be more expensive to get the water that we've been enjoying now, if we can get it. So we're trying to look down the road and figure what's the cheapest way to develop a good product over the next 40 or 50 years. So some of y'all might be more aware than others of what we're doing, and but just please know the county is on top of this, and I think we just got approval. Do you know? I think the plan was just approved finally by...
We're working on an agreement.
Okay, all right, okay, I thought that had been done, so it was very soon. So that's kind of where we're on the county level.
I hope this wasn't a news flash to anybody at the table, that you all are aware of this initiative. You should be, and I've seen lots of noddings of heads around the table when Commissioner Dancer was speaking. This, as you're sharing with us, it's an initiative that the county seems to be taking the lead on, correct? Okay. Anybody else have any just quick insights on water or thoughts you'd like to share beyond that? Because that's a great, yes, sir.
I would just, we all know about the water issue, obviously, and it goes, I think it goes to a bigger thing, to our residents. And until you get a water bill like Joe's, does it become a big deal? And, if we don't get a hold of this, we're all going to get a water bill like that in the future. And, a piece of this has got, as we talk about how much money we're going to spend to fund this type of project in the county, there's got to be some educational piece of with that explains that and why we're doing it. Because right now, if, my water bill's what it's always been, I turn it on, it's there, and the conservation movement is getting bigger and bigger, I think, but it's still a lot of folks that don't know it's a problem yet. They hear about it, but it hasn't affected them yet.
Sure.
And that's a big part of this, is getting that message out there. So it's, everybody in this room realizes the importance of it. It's our job, like other things that we've talked about today, to get the word out and make sure that our residents know it's coming, why we're doing it,
right,
and how it's going to affect them. Might not hurt you today, but 10 years from now, if we don't make a change, this is where we're going to be.
Sure. Yes, Mayor Dale.
Well, Keith touched on conservation. The most important thing right now is to get people to buy into the fact that the more conservation we do, that's the biggest water savings method we can have, is conservation. In Lake Alfred, we actually had gotten a small cities grant. We were able to offer rebates on people who purchased low-flow toilets and shower heads and things like that. So that's something we can start now, rather than waiting until some of the technology comes around for the deep water wells and things. But also, if we had more initiative to work on the technology of things like reuse water within everybody's house. Like, why are we flushing good water down the toilet when we could use recaptured shower water, for example, things like that. If each house had its own recycle system, we would be able to use a lot less water and wouldn't have such a big need in the future.
Sure. I think you could probably spend at least a day speaking, just having a conversation about water and what you're all going to need to be doing. And well said, all of you, on that particular topic. We are down to about the last 10 minutes, believe it or not. This morning has gone by very quickly. So what I'd like to do is, if we could, is just go around the table, and we'll go in reverse this time. So we'll start with Commissioner Dantzler. And if you would just talk to each other and let me know and let Polk Vision know what's your takeaway from this. I know you all want to come back next year. I think you can anticipate being together next year. So Commissioner Dantzler, what's your takeaway from this?
Sure, this is a great experience. I didn't know what to expect when I came in. I was driving Sarah and the staff at Polk Vision crazy, wanting to know the specifics of the details. So that's just my own little paranoia, I guess. But, at breakfast in there, I was sitting with some folks, and it was apparent that some of them didn't know where other cities were in the county or the specifics about other cities. And so I invite anyone that wants to ride with me someday when I'm driving around the county. I'm happy to give you a bigger perspective of just your city and how it can kind of fit into the county and where different things are, where different municipalities are, and just kind of give you a county's perspective. So I'm happy to do that if anyone would like to spend the day with me.
Great, thank you. And you'll try restaurants at all the different cities too, since that throwdown was
Apparently already have.
Okay. Mayor Pennant.
I just want to say thank you to Polk Vision for hosting this event. At my introduction, I make note that this was my third year, and I see where this is really growing to be a real productive event. So I trust that we will have not just our fifth roundtable, but down the road we'll be talking about our 20th roundtable. And it's been a great honor and pleasure for me to sit with my counterpart here, and we share ideas. One thing I do really admire among a lot of us, we have a lot of interlocal agreement, and that really make us forge together, not just as one individual city, but we are coming together as a conglomerate, and more so coming together as one in Polk County. And I think that will be a very productive state for us to be in. And I just want to say thank you all for having me, and thank you for being such a wonderful moderator.
Thank you very much. Okay. Mayor Tyler.
My pass along would be for my fellow seatmates is, again, I'm looking for a way out. I'm headed out the door from this process. But your challenge, folks, is going to be to engage your residents, your citizenry. The things we've talked about here, we know those things. They don't know them, okay?
Good point.
When I turn on the faucet, I just want stuff to come out. When I pull that little handle, I just want stuff to go away. As long as it does that, I'm happy. And until I realize just how close, how perilously close I am to that not happening. And folk, you don't want them to find out the water bill. I served for 2 years with commissioners who ran because of their water bill. Now, when they realized there was other things to be concerned about, it kind of shocked them into no man's land, but that was their inspiration. Joe, it was just that important. So as we reach past that, ladies and gentlemen, your challenge is going to be, we planned something recently that we did in my town. We worked on it for a year. They didn't show up till they got the notice in the mail. You all understand that. How do you get out there? I go to EDCs, chambers, all of you do that. You got to spread that word before your citizens know. They make good decisions when they're informed. When I've got a guy that comes to city commission meetings, I'll never forget his name, it's Trevor. I said, well, Trevor, we've been talking about this for a year. Where are you? I got a social life. I did too before I started this. We got to get the Trevors involved because we're doing this for them. And sometimes they think that we just have no clue. We're doing it off the cuff. And I think when they recognize what it takes to get where we are, they'll know why transit's important. They'll know why future water use is important. They will understand those things if we can get that message to them. So as I pass by most of you on my way fishing, I'd like to be able to salute you and say you're doing one heck of a job of getting that word out. Good luck.
All right, Mayor Huff, your takeaway?
I just like to point out to Mayor Tyler, when you retire, that's when you have plenty of time to serve on the commission. I think it's a wonderful idea to have a dialogue with all the mayors and the county. I think this is great. I did want to mention one thing. We've been involved in our city in a strategic planning program that's been going on for about 3 years now, and we've been involving the citizens with meetings and in businesses to try to prioritize the things that need to be done. And one of the things I did want to mention is that, you know, we've been lucky in the last few years with storms and hurricanes. But one thing that we found out was We needed to start storm hardening our electric distribution system. We have our own distribution system for the electric, and we had our own generating plants until in the 40s when we switched over to buying commercial electricity. So we've been putting in new light poles and transformers and substations and so forth. We also got to work on our water and wastewater. Back in Charlie, one of our major lift stations was flooded. We had to build a dike around it and so forth. So we're going through and looking at our water, wastewater systems as well as electric. And we all need to worry about hurricanes, so don't forget those.
Okay, thank you. Mayor Birdsong?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's that season, yeah. Mayor.
Thank you. I've actually attended 2 of the 4 sessions. This is my first time as mayor. And for me, my takeaway is that there is no other venue where the mayors can sit and have a discussion. And from that standpoint, we do a little bit of it at the Ridge League, but it's not generally the mayors. It's someone getting up and saying some things, and that's only supposed to be a couple of minutes, well, really a couple of seconds, really. But this allows us an opportunity to have a dialogue, and it's interesting that Mayor Wiggs, his comments, you know, that's the other thing, is that, you know, there has been an East-West divide, and we say that it doesn't exist today, and we're hopeful, but he and I got to work on it to keep going forward, because basically when it comes down to it, we all need to work together, and sometimes the benefits to one may not be the same benefit to the other municipality, and we have to take that into consideration. And so this dialogue just allows us to continue to work together, but there are always, for me, some key things that were pointed out. And one of the key things is that the way things, we know that that we individually, we don't legislate on a broad base. So basically working through our legislators is a collective base to basically try to get things that will benefit us all. And so if we don't have these little dialogues to at least start talking about that, it's just an isolation, and then generally it doesn't come about until there is a confirmation between or conflict between what one city wants and the other city doesn't. And really and truly, ladies and gentlemen, it does come down to the legislature body, because even with our CSX, you know, that did not happen when it was supposed, when we thought it would happen, and it also had a regional effect as well, because Arlanda and you know, the other places. So it's just basically good that we're having this dialogue, and that we really know that we need to come together and work collectively together and work with our legislators.
Great.
And so I would like to thank you all for continuing this effort. And I just have to say this effort was basically talked about in the beginning because the city of Winter Haven and Lakeland used to have this, and then they decided that it needed to be a much broader group, and Ms. Burden there and her group picked it up and so started it. So hats off to you all.
Great, thank you. Mayor Daley?
Well, to piggyback on the great job that Polk Vision did getting us together, I also want to thank Colleen, because I think you did a really good job.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Mayor Daley.
And for me, I think just talking to everybody and hearing their the things and problems that they have and how they're the same as the problems that we have, so we can see, where each other stands, where we have our support, where we can get help from. And also the intergovernmental cooperation that we can find. For instance, we have a water interconnect with Auburndale, and we're working on some things. We're working with Winter Haven on water interconnect, and they're working with Lake Wales. So to think that Lake Wales and Lake Alfred could have a water interconnect is, as far away as we are, is pretty amazing. So those are the kind of things that we can work together. We share an IT person with, we share planners. And so there's a lot of things that we do that are all interconnected. So it's really good if we have this chance where we can all talk together at the same time, find out where we have support and where we have differences and how we can work those out. So
Great.
really appreciate this
Thank
time.
you, Mary Daly. Mayor Wagner.
I have basically the same thing to say that Nancy does, except it's so good to be able to see what everybody else is working with and who is here, that in a time of just not on big items that the cities need to work together with, but smaller items. Lake Hamilton's probably the smallest town here, and we have our own things that we need once in a while. We have a memorandum of understanding with Dundee to bring sewer into Lake Hamilton. We've outsourced to Haines City. It's just so, and in emergencies even. Dundee not too long ago had to call us for some help. We've had to call Haines City for help. And just knowing these people as you're sitting around the table, knowing what they're thinking and how they feel about working together, it makes it so much easier when you are in that time that you need, hey, can I have help, please? And pick up the phone and you know who you're talking to.
Great. Thank you very much. Mayor Cowie?
Thank you. I'd just like to thank Polk Vision. Thank you, Colleen, for facilitating today. Appreciate that. This is the second time I've been able to attend as mayor, and it really is, it's a great opportunity. I think everybody has pretty much alluded to the fact that it's really the only time that this happens to this magnitude throughout the year for all of us to get a chance to meet, and it helps us build those relationships and work on those different cooperative things that we have out there. The other big part of it is, I think our citizens, our residents expect it out of us.
Yeah.
That they expect us to work together to figure out how to solve problems that are common to all of us, and do that in a productive, civilized manner that they don't always see on a larger scale. So we've got a great opportunity on our level to really operate in a manner that how government should work, and working with other municipalities and cities and counties, et cetera. It's a great example on how it's supposed to be done. So this gives us a forum to do it. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor LaCascia?
I think simply as an observation, I think this is my fourth, so I've been here for the four of them,
You've been here every year. Yes, sir.
The observation of where it was and where it has come to. The first days, all we did, everyone else kind of sat around and listened to Lakeland and Winter Haven and talk about their issues. And for some reason, they seemed to be very isolated issues. But as we spoke more and more, I think we learned from one another that they weren't so isolated anymore. And some of the newer mayors began to speak up. And for my part, I know I speak to Sam on a regular basis. It puts faces to names that we probably wouldn't be able to enjoy. We have an opportunity to talk amongst ourselves, and whether it be League of Cities, and we sit on many committees together. But this is the only one where I find we can talk as freely as we want to talk. We try to keep it lighthearted. And all of that goes back to Polk Vision. I call them the girls of Polk Vision. Starts with Sarah, April, Carol, Colleen. Thanks for being facilitator. It's great that you that you rose to the occasion. They do a wonderful job. It is the government task force, which I also sit on, that puts this thing together. And they work very, very hard at seeing to it that all of the mayors can get together in this atmosphere. So thank you to all of the ladies of Polk Vision for doing this, and yourself.
Thank you.
And it's always a pleasure to sit down with fellow mayors as well. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, Mayor Wiggs, this was your first one.
It was my
What's
first
your
one.
takeaway? Tell me what you think.
Well, as a part of the Florida League of Cities, I've been on a number of statewide committees. I've chaired a couple of statewide committees. And most of the elected officials are nice folks, but there are some real jerks. I mean,
None
really,
sitting in here today. Yeah.
and as I go to Ridge League meetings, as I come to meetings like this, it is really neat, maybe cool, whatever the word should be, to have competent, conscientious, non-jerks in Polk County. We just have a great bunch of folks who really care about their constituents, but also are smart enough and are good enough leaders to make sure that good things happen. So I appreciate you all. The other thing I forgot to mention when we were talking about economic development, how when we're talking to cities coming in or whatever, they're really concerned about an educated workforce. And we are so blessed in this county to have Polk State College and Florida Poly and Southeastern and Florida Southern. Not only are they're just good schools, but you look at what's happening with their curriculum now, they are really paying attention to what is going to carry us into the future for an educated workforce. We're on the cutting edge. The training they're providing is keeping us on the cutting edge. We're getting right there with most any county or any region with qualified workforce because of our universities and colleges, and I applaud them in this
Great.
county.
Thank you. Mayor Foltz?
I'd like to thank you, Colleen, and Polk Works for
Polk Vision, but it's okay.
Polk Vision, that's right. Old name, Polk Works. Polk Vision for you guys putting this together. This has really been good. This is just my second time here, but I appreciate the relationships that are being built at this table here. And I hear a common mantra, from all of us saying that we truly believe that a rising tide floats all boats, because it sounds like with all of the good things that are going on in the various cities, we believe that we're all benefiting from it. And I truly believe that. I thank Bartow for the Polk State College Clear Springs Technology Training Center, because Lake Wales will benefit from that. We also thank Winter Haven for the CSX Intermodal, because we definitely will benefit from that, because great things are coming from there. We also thank Lakeland and Arbondale for Polytech, because I truly believe that we should do everything that we can to keep our talent at home. And with the number of, we've got 2 universities co-located around Lake Wales. That's Weber University and Warner University, along with Polk State College right there in the city. I believe that now we are looking at educating a workforce that we can keep at home, but through economic development, bring those jobs in. I think we'll be able to see that this rising tide truly will float all boats. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Bradley, your takeaway.
Well, my takeaway, as it was last year, was great. First, to meet everybody, to meet all the mayors, to be able to, what I've been able to do is call each one of you or email you after our last meeting to ask you for your advice. We are all dealing with the same issues and problems in our cities. I'm in a much smaller city, much smaller scale than Lakeland or Bartow. However, we're all dealing with them, so it's great to be able to reach out to you, get your advice. Just 2 weeks ago, I was driving through Lake Alfred when I saw the sheriff's inmates working. They were cleaning up the streets, and I said, how do we go about getting that? So it wasn't just a few phone calls away, and now we're looking into getting free labor to help us get our parks cleaned up and the streets and things like that. So there's a lot that we can learn, and likewise, only been at it for 14 months, learning, and we can learn so much just by reaching out to you, and I feel comfortable that we can do that. My day job is I've been working for an engineering company for over 30 years, geotechnical engineering, and in my day job, we have an organization where we meet monthly, where we share the same things that we're all dealing with. All the engineers in Central Florida. I work in Orlando. I would like to be able to see that the mayors be able to do this on a monthly basis, if it's possible. Just to be able to reach out and say, hey, what are you doing? How are you handling your chickens or your water or whatever your issue is? It's just nice to be able to reach out and say, how are you dealing with this problem?
Great, thank you so much.
It's been good, so thank you, Polk Vision.
Okay, Mayor Dickinson, you're going to wrap us up.
Yes. Frostproof sits in the southeastern corner of Polk County, and we've always felt like we were the redheaded stepchildren of this area. Nobody knew we were even down there. But I feel now that, meeting with you, this is my second year, that we all have the same problems, only Lakeland has it on a bigger scale than we do. But we've got the same problems, and it's nice to know that how you're dealing with it and helping us deal with it on a smaller scale.
Great, thank you so much. Well, I would certainly, if I may, just like to thank each and every one of you, all the mayors and Commissioner Dancer for being here. Thank you also to, I know we have some people in the audience here who sat through this with us and helped us ask some great questions. So it's been my privilege to be here with you. I've enjoyed stepping back in and again, getting active with Polk Vision. Like I said, when you step away and an organization has your heart, like Polk Vision still has mine, it is so wonderful to know and to hear that we'll be doing this, 16 years from now when we have that 20th anniversary. You and I will be here. That'll be great. Sarah, did you have some closing comments?
I just wanted to thank you all again for sharing your time. It's a big bulk of time that you've given today, all of our audience members as well as the mayors, and we know that your time is quite precious, so thank you so much. And we appreciate all of our sponsors. We just wanted to wrap up. Thank you to Colleen. She did a magnificent job facilitating and pinch hitting for us. We really appreciate it. And as a native Polk Countyan and a 7th generation Floridian, I am so blessed to live here and raise my family here in Polk County. And I just appreciate each and every one of you. So thank you all for coming, and I hope you have a great rest of your week.